operating procedures I want to go over here. So this is a initial report of a vascular Doppler, and there are some ways that they do it at like some of the more regional hospitals, which they don't do at the main campus that I wanted to illustrate with regards to labeling and just other conventions. So let's just go through the PHI section first. They fall into the categories you can see at the top. So I try to make the hotkeys similar to what the PHI would be. So like for name, person, it's important to remember that name is not necessarily the name of the patient. Obviously, since I'm putting this on the internet, there's no patient data in it. But for the provider name, you do need to highlight that because amongst names, we need to train it on how to recognize patient names versus provider names. So just as a proof, this publicly available information. So anyhow, for the name, we highlighted Joseph Mulholland here, and then there can be organizations, which are either a unit of a hospital or the hospital itself. So you can see I highlighted Hendricks Regional for the address. We highlighted that. And then we get kind of into the meat of the report here. So for the waveforms, I'm going to illustrate a few things. So one, try to highlight a sentence that would allow you, if you just visualize the sentence in its entirety, or it doesn't have to be a full sentence, it can be obviously a part of a sentence, you would be able to connect the artery, the waveform, and the laterality. So the minimum amount in this sentence, the waveform pattern in the dorsalis pedis artery at the right ankle is irregular, that I can highlight is everything that's there. So you don't need the and you obviously don't need the period, but it gives you the waveform, which is irregular, whatever that's supposed to mean, dorsalis pedis, which is the artery, and then the laterality. Similarly for the right side in the very next sentence, for the PT in the very next sentence, we do the same thing. The challenge is, well, what if they have a finding, like there are usually it's if the artery is totally included and there are flat waveforms, they just say they're flat waveforms for both the PT and the DP on whichever side. So in that case, I just want you to double highlight it. So this monophasic here is actually highlighted twice. So you can see that as number 5 for the DP waveform on the left, and then it is also number 6 for the PT waveform on the left. Sometimes at certain other hospitals, they don't calculate the ABI for each pedal vessel. They only give you the final result. If that's the case, instead of using the vessel-based ABIs that you can see up at the top, which are coded for 1 and 2 on the left side, because that's where your hands would rest, and then 7 and 8 on the right side, because that's where your hands would rest, you have these alternative values here, which are current ABI left and current ABI right, if they only list a single value, and that's the comma and the period button, which are correspondent to its left versus right side on the keyboard. The other challenge is, well, what happens if you have a blood vessel, report where they do list the DP and the PT? So you're just going to double select them. So in a typical case where they give you the left DP, the left DP and PT, and the same thing on the right, you're going to label each one twice. So for the DP, you're going to label that. For the PT, you're going to label that, and then you're going to choose the highest one. So when we eventually train a model to summarize this, one question is the model actually doing the math, as in it's calculating it based on the pressures, or is it accurately selecting the highest pressure? For us to know that, we have to have both labels. So that's why you have to do both of them. And then at the bottom, to help distinguish who people are, you see I included the part that says reported and signed by, and then the name. All right, so this is one example of labeling, I guess, 101 for the imaging reports.